Today, I'm hosting Jaspar Carmichael-Jack, founder and CEO of Artisan. Jaspar has built one of the most talked about AI companies in San Francisco, creating AI employees called Artisans to handle outbound sales. He started with Ava, the AI BDR. After raising $12 million straight out of YC and recently securing $25 million, Artisan has become impossible to miss with those provocative "stop hiring human" billboards that you have seen all over downtown San Francisco. Jaspar has recently made the bold decision to pause all new product development to focus and perfect Artisan's outbound capabilities first, believing that you have to earn your right to be multi-product. We'll get into how he's navigating the AI boom, his views on outcome-based pricing, and what he's learned from running one of the most polarizing marketing campaigns in tech. Let's take a look.
Jasper, so good to have you here. Let's just start in the middle. Why, beat around the bush? So you just prioritize your main outbound agent ahead of everything else, and you went public on this, and you said, "I'm deprioritizing all the other work."
Yeah.
The other agents that also begin with an A, I think it's Aaron and Aria.
Aria, yeah.
That not getting your love. You're putting all the efforts on this one thing. Why?
Yeah, so we have the designs for the inbound product for Aaron ready to go, and it's really cool, and I'm excited to release it. But we still have so much room with outbound. We have a lot of product service area to cover that we haven't covered yet. And we've seen with every incremental release we've done so far, customer outcomes just explode every single time. Like, we have a very clear graph. Every time we release something that we think is going to improve customer outcomes, it almost always does. And we know there's a lot more to do in outbound. And we had some engineering resources that we had in the roadmap dedicated to inbound and to the meeting assistant. But it just makes sense for us to go all in with outbound for the rest of this year, build the best product on the market in every regard, and then put additional resources on other products. I feel like we have to earn the right to do that before we can just go multi-product immediately.
Why now? Like, this is something you could have told yourself 6 months ago. So what was the genesis of this decision?
Yeah, I think so. So we were looking at the roadmap earlier on this week on Monday, and last week we were planning it all out. And we had a lot to do in outbound, and then we were adding inbound and meeting assistant. And it was just clear that we wouldn't be able to do everything that we had planned in outbound if we also did other things right now. So that was a pretty straightforward exercise.
So give me a flavor for the kind of things that you think that your outbounding agent needs. Was it customer feedback? Like, I wish that person would do X, Y, or Z? Or was it more like you seeing inadequacies, inefficiencies, like shortcomings of the experience that you really wanted to portray?
Combination of both. Some things customers ask for, like a lot of basic things, like they want round robin and they want a better quality of life inside the platform. And then a lot of things that will drive up the response rate that they get. So like using new data sources, using SalesNav as a data source, using their LinkedIn connections as a data source. We have like 15 different data sources planned out that are less saturated than the classic B2B data you get from big data providers. So like a combination of things we know are going to improve their outcomes because we've tested them manually and they do, and things that they've asked for that improve the quality of life inside the platform.
Are your customers asking you to replace more tools in their tool stack? Like, for instance, when you say round robbing, like the first thing that comes to mind is Chili Piper. So like, is your agent not using Chili Piper to do the things? Or are you coding your own Chili Piper inside your agent? Is that how you're thinking about it?
Yeah, so like for outbound right now, customers who get a lot of leads coming through spend most of their time routing those leads to AEs on their team. We can't really integrate with the inbound routing tools because they're already made to deal with form fills. And we're also planning to build an inbound tool. So we just need to build a round robin functionality inside the platform so that when responses come through, they can get fired to different AEs. It's pretty straightforward. We'll have it in a few weeks, but it's something that we've just deprioritized.
How is that relevant to outbounding? So round robbing is an inbound problem, not an outbound problem. So why is that in your roadmap?
So the way that we do outbound, you can have the CEO with 50 mailboxes reaching out to thousands of people a month. So those conversations then need to be handed off to individual AEs. So you have at the point of response a round robin that happens to the broader sales team.
Got it. So the handoff gets done on a round robin basis.
Exactly, yeah. So it's like looping in the person who's being round robin to, and then assigning them as the account owner in Salesforce.
Got it. So I've been having a lot of conversations with folks around, what's going to happen to AI SDRs. Is that a thing or not a thing? Clearly, I fundamentally believe that this space needs to exist. It just needs to mature. But to me, the maturity is not quite getting there yet as fast as the market expects it. What would you say to that? What were you at in terms of getting the AI to perform better than a human would?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that we pretty clearly have the product edge in the market, and we still have so much area to cover and so much left to build within outbound. I'd say from a writing perspective and a research perspective, we're pretty much on par with a human now. There's still room to go to be able to do better research and better writing than a human. But your average SDR writing will be pretty on par with what Ava does. We're just looking to get to the point where it's the best SDR that we're replicating rather than just the average human. I think it's realistically going to take a year for the space to mature properly and for the products that need to be built to make a product that's better than any combination of other tools that you can get on the market.
So are you seeing the same results that every sales shop is seeing, which is outbound is getting harder. It's harder to get people's attention on email. It's harder to get the right messaging dial. It's harder to be relevant. Are you seeing the same, and what are you doing about it?
Yeah, for sure. So, but month over month, we get it's harder, but we have an improvement month over month in the outcomes that we get because we do so much to combat that. So while it does get harder every month, if we were to stay stagnant, every single month we're getting better and better results for our customers, and it's because of the things that we're building. So like we have completely redone the way that Ava researches these. We have dozens of sources that we pull data from. We have a really in-depth process when we generate an email where it goes through a bunch of different processes and we are testing different features and pain points and seeing what works well. We have a CS team who work really closely with customers to come up with strong CTAs, and Ava can come up with a first batch of CTAs for them. So through the iteration, we're able to improve results over time, but just sending a basic cold email to 1,000 people becomes less successful every month.
So how are you measuring improvement? Is that in response rates or is it
Yeah, response rate.
in response
Yeah.
rates? And so can you share the response rates that you're seeing for your average customer? Where is it going from what to
It
what?
varies a lot. So like the average customer response rate will usually be between like 1 and 3%. Positive response rate will be between like 0.25 and 1%. We have some really random cases where people do a lot better. So we have one customer who's selling ice cream cones to ice cream shops. And he has a 2.5% positive response rate, which in outbound is just like extremely unlikely. And he gets hundreds of leads for his ice cream cones.
It's
So
amazing.
it's always pretty random what ends up doing well. And it's never really what we expect will the outliers end up being. So yeah, it's interesting.
Are you waiting for some kind of capability from the foundational models for you to get better at what you do? And what are you waiting for?
Not really. We were for a long time. The models are now pretty good at writing. That there's still some capability gaps and things that we want to do. Like we can't do autonomous responses well yet because the models aren't good enough and they end up hallucinating. And there's some add-ons to the product that we want to build that we're waiting for the models to improve for. But for the core outbound use case that we have right now, it's just about building products and building the surface area of the outbound product so that we can do more for our users, like sending outbound messaging when a trigger fires, having a library of dozens of triggers for our Watchtower product. There's a lot of things that aren't to do with the AI that are just improving what the AI is able to do.
So let's talk about marketing a little bit. So you hate humans, clearly.
I love humans.
So let's get that out of the
I am
way. So
human.
so now that you have put that out there, it feels to me, and you tell me, now you've been at this for a while. So it feels to me that it's still a capturing of the mind game. If you don't capture mind share, you're gonna get washed out in the sea of other solutions that kind of sound the same. Everybody can attach AI to their name and boom, be in the game. So walk us through your strategy and what should we expect from the, don't hire humans artisan.
Yeah, so that campaign did really well for us. And it's where we've done a bunch of different marketing channels, and billboards have always gotten the best ROI for us.
Dude, I think you made billboards more expensive for everybody. Like everyone is trying to go do the same thing that you are, and now you jacked up the price. So you piss in the pond, everybody's swimming. Thank you.
Good. We're saturating the channel. No, we don't even have that many. Like we just like whenever we get one, it always goes viral on social media if we do it well. So most of the actual ROI from billboards isn't from people seeing the billboard; it's from people taking a picture and posting it on Twitter or posting it on LinkedIn and making it go viral. This year, we're doing a bit of a journey with our messaging. We're going from stop hiring humans to eventually likely something along the lines of humans and AI working together, which is really what the platform is. Like you actually will always need BDRs inherently because AI can't do outbound calling. AI can't do a lot of things that humans can do with adding a personal touch to the outbound. Like if you have a very targeted ABM list, you don't want to give that to an AI SDR. You might want an AI SDR to support with outbounding them, but you need a human to do calling. You need a human to set up events, and you can tell the AI SDR to invite them to it. You need a human to send custom videos. Like, you still need humans in outbound, and I think you'll still need humans in basically every role, unless it's a back office data entry role that you can truly automate. But yeah, so the messaging will shift more towards that over time.
All right. So that campaign is far less exciting than Don't Hire Humans.
It is. We're going to make it exciting. We're going to make it fun. We have some ideas, so I'm not going to tell you them all yet.
Okay. All right. So out of all the things that you have done, what kind of grade will you give yourself on that Don't Hire Humans Anymore campaign?
A B.
A B.
Yeah.
So are you going for an A on the next, hire humans and humans are great?
No, the next one's also going to be a B.
No, but why go for B when you could be an A? So what's the
It's
next
like
A?
the A will be next year. Yeah.
Got it. So you're gonna tone it down this year, let the wave pass, focus on one product, and next year you're gonna go back to Jasper being Jasper.
Well, we're still going to do, so we have some fun things this year. Just next year, we have some really cool things that we're releasing that we can do cool marketing around. So we have ideas.
So what has been the most unexpected reaction from this campaign?
I'd say, I mean, the death threats, but it kind of makes sense that people would be mad and send death threats because I can this so I guess that's not that unexpected.
Well, no, we're gonna dig into that, but keep going.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to go so viral. Like, we got we had like millions of people visit our website. So that response was probably the most unexpected thing.
What was the argument behind the death threat? So people were mad at you because
It's fair.
what?
It's fair. I did piss people off. So we released the campaign at the exact same time as the United Healthcare CEO was shot. So then there was obviously the huge wave of people saying, "Oh, CEOs should all die," and then that coincided with us releasing that. So then people were trying to send Luigi after me, which I get. It's fair. I did. I did piss them off. But yeah,
That meme right there, Luigi after you, that's money.
my Instagram was just full of people
that-
commenting Luigi gifs. It was kind of fun.
Well, I'm really excited about what you're gonna do next year because you can top that. I'm not as excited about this, revert back to the mean of like, AI helping humans, blah 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 blah. That is.
It should be fun. It's gonna be cool. It's not. It sounds boring when I phrase it like that, but there's some fun to it.
It does. It does. What are you thinking of expansion in the application toolset that you're providing? So, who are you displacing, human or not human, right now, and who you want to displace when you're done with this focus session that you're having with Ava?
Yeah. So I think the biggest angle is if a company is smaller, like a bigger SMB. We don't really sell into very small SMBs, but like a bigger SMB, and they have just one BDR, they can bring Artisan on, and they don't need to hire like a huge team. So it's taking the headcount they have and significantly increasing the volume of outbound that person can do. It is all around BDRs right now. Like, that is the role that we're trying to augment, and then we're trying to make more productive. Down the line, the next one will be like an inbound SDR function. That's what the next product is. And then the third product that we have planned is just to heavily reduce the workload for AEs. So reduce the post-call workload and make the calls easier for them to run. I'm trying not to say too much. I'll say something right now. But yeah.
Well, it's really good because you're giving your customers the ability to scale without having to incur the cost of headcount, which is pretty magical in the things that agents do. How are you pricing that? How are you capturing the value of all that goodness that you're delivering for your customer?
Yeah, so we have two ways. One that you know about because we're launching it right now with you. I feel like that question was targeted. So the previous pricing was based on the volume of leads that you contact per month. So the number of leads you're contacting outbound. And then we're piloting this new pricing with you where it's currently based on positive responses. We're looking to eventually shift that to based on the number of demos or something that shows value more clearly. So we're testing out that success-based pricing and then volume-based outbound pricing. And I think our pricing model is going to evolve a lot over the next year. Like, we're not really happy with where it sits right now, and we have some ideas there too.
That's awesome. Do you want to comment on a few ideas that you have going forward?
Yeah, it's likely that we're going to switch to some kind of a credit system because we're releasing a lot of these triggers and these intent signals and a bunch of other products within outbound that cost us like very different amounts to fulfill for users. And when we're selling these initial plans, we can't exactly go in and say, like, you get X amount of leads, because one lead we could have a negative margin on, and another we could have like a great margin on. So we're thinking of switching to a credit system and restructuring the platform around that.
What do you make of the whole hoopla of LinkedIn shutting down a bunch of companies that were scraping LinkedIn to make lists?
Yeah, I actually spoke to someone at LinkedIn about that who was involved in it. Basically, LinkedIn will do that to you when you're big enough to be getting public attention for doing things that you shouldn't on LinkedIn. And if you're actively promoting and bragging about the fact that you're doing that to LinkedIn. So you'll notice with like Zoom Info, they definitely do some things with, allegedly, don't sue me. They definitely do likely do something on LinkedIn where they're scraping it. But if you look at their website, they won't mention it anywhere. And they don't say the word LinkedIn at all, apart from what they can do with the APIs. And I think that's why they were safe from this. But if you were to go to the other people's websites, they'd say, oh, LinkedIn data. Oh, you can automate your LinkedIn outreach. So I think, first of all, it's about reaching a point of scale where you become a target to their legal team. And second
Right.
of all, if you're being flippant with how you speak about doing it and encouraging other people to do it, then that's when they're going to come after you.
Well, you're getting into the data game now. So now you're taking that as an input. How are you thinking about that for your own margin, for your own ability to deliver, quality results to your customers?
Yeah, so for the most part, we aggregate together other data providers and buy the data. So we're not really in the game of actually collecting it ourselves. We just buy it and then clean it and then provide it to our customers.
A la Clay or a la
Kind of like the Clay, but rather than you seeing all the providers and seeing it all happen and having to do it on a table, it's like done for you and you just see the data output. So it's like Clay, but maybe instead of Clay, it's like plate.
Got it. What are you most afraid of? Like when you think about who's going to come after you, who are you thinking about?
Well, that's changed a lot these past couple of months. So I'm not as worried about what I used to be worried about. It's kind of weird because this used to be a super competitive space, and our competitors seem to kind of have self-selected out of the race one by one. I'd say there's not really. I'd say it's more players in adjacent spaces that are similar, like the Clays and the other intent-driven outbound platforms, rather than any specific AI SDR. I don't think any of the AI SDR companies right now are too threatening. And I've seen the products, like their products also have a lot of features that they're missing, like significantly more than ours.
Right.
But I think it's purely going to be about who can build fast enough and build the right thing. Like at this point, that's what's going to lead to the chasm in outbound and in sales. Like we've seen it. Software engineering has had its chasm with Cursor. Like all of a sudden, everyone is using Cursor and they've seen explosive ARR growth and grown extremely fast. And legal has had it with Harvey. And there's a bunch of verticals that haven't had anything yet, and sales is one of them.
Yep.
So it's waiting for a product to be good enough to be used by everybody that people are just going to pile onto it. And we're trying to build towards being that pivotal product in the sales stack that leads everyone from shifting to AI first software.
So as you're using this more, as you get more sophisticated, right? So one of the things that we all have to observe is that the level of engagement needs to go up in sophistication. A lot of people call it personalization. I don't think that's true. I think
Yeah.
it's more about relevance and about being timely. It's going to take up a lot of inference. It's just going to take a lot of research.
We know.
So how do you think, how are you going to navigate this compression in margin? And how do you think the world is going to navigate this margin compression as the demand and the expectations for high quality inference is just going to go through the roof?
So it should be hopefully offset by the foundation models reducing their prices at the same time and releasing better models that are cheaper. That's what we've seen thus far.
But it gets cheaper for everybody. So that is, if it gets cheaper
Yeah.
for you, it gets cheaper for everybody. Everybody else, their prices already loses, right? So it has to be something else.
Yeah, but I guess we should still have strong margins regardless. And I think it's so difficult for someone to build an outbound product, an AI SDR that works well. It looks very easy from the outside to build an AI SDR. You think, oh, send loads of emails, get responses, happy customers. But there's so much nuance around the actual breadth of product that you have to build and how deep you have to go in every single product to make it work well. That you couldn't do it with like $2 million in funding. Like it'd be impossible to build a good AI SDR. Like when we first launched, the product was a complete shit show. And I think we still we're almost 2 years into building and we still have so much left to build. And we now have a really, really strong engineering team and we're moving very fast. That's why I think like this year is going to be very pivotal for outbound, but you can't do it with minimal money. So it would have to be someone very well funded. And I think it's about knowing what to build and executing well with a strong engineering team. And that's what we're fully focused on. And then distributing as well.
That's very well put. So, but back to the margin thing. So, as you do more stuff for your customers, it's going to compress your margin. So, where are you gonna? What are the levers of value to extract, right? Because if you are able to generate a lot of appointments for somebody because of your technology, I think that's a value lever that you should be pulling. The same thing if you're higher, more relevant. If you are, delivering the right lead to the right rep, like there's all these other things that if you don't capture it, you're not going to be able to see the value for the engineering redeployment.
Well, Manny, luckily paid AI lets us track on a user level
Well put.
what the
Well
margins
put.
are.
Well
Yeah, so
put.
we
Well
can
put.
we can avoid any surprises there. And I think that combined with a credit system where we can charge people based on what the action they're doing within the platform is can make sure that we remain profitable with every single different input that we're using to get them results.
So what would you say then, live what you have lived, right? So now you're on the other side of greatness. You're a name brand, you raise a ton of money. So go back to the right. Enough, a lot more money than your peers. So go back to the new younger, Jasper, like the new
Yep.
YC graduate coming right now, trying to get into the go-to-market field. What's your advice to them? What are they gonna do?
I don't know if I would follow my advice because I just was pretty controversial and then that got us a lot of attention.
So maybe that's advice. Just
Um,
be controversial. Get on the other side of every argument and win.
I don't want to be responsible for what people do if you tell them to be controversial. Uh, yeah, I don't know, just do things that other people aren't doing. Anything that, from a marketing perspective, if everyone is doing something, it's their campaign type, it's inherently not going to work as well. And I think there's obviously room for every channel and you need like a broad marketing mix and a broad go-to-market mix. But try and do things that people aren't doing to have that alpha and that ability to edge ahead of the competition.
Got it. So how does your point of view on your alpha change from when you started Artisan to now?
Interesting. Well, when we first started, it was just such a novel concept, and there wasn't really anyone big in the space.
But
Like
there
no
was
one had
like three
raised.
of you in your same class. Like,
Yeah, there was, but like it was. I don't
come
know. We
on.
always just like had an edge. I don't know. I think distribution has always been our edge, and just finding different ways to make people see us and hear us. Like
Got
early
it.
on, we used Reddit a lot, and that got us a bunch of users. And then we started using LinkedIn, and then we started using the billboards. Like we've had big distribution channels that have grown each time. And like in our YC batch, I don't even know who the other AI SDRs were. Like I know there were other AI SDRs, but I don't even remember who they were. And then a bunch of people pivoted to being AI SDRs during the batch, like I think 4 or 5. But yeah, I don't remember who they were.
I love what you. I don't remember who they were. That's the biggest flex if I ever heard one. That is very continental of you. So now that you got the new expectation set for artists, or you got a fresh new bag of money, a higher valuation. What's your path? What's your exit strategy? Are you a public company? Are you an acquisition target? Are you where are we going with this? To the moon?
All the way through to IPO.
Tell me more.
Yeah, so I wouldn't want to exit. I want to take this company all the way through and expand into other verticals and to be the leader in this paradigm shift from classic software to AI first software that's agentic in nature. Starting with outbound sales. Outbound sales is really our wedge in the door, and we will spend likely years building this wedge, and then next year we'll branch into building more products. But it is going to be an ecosystem of products that work well together that span more than one vertical and span a bunch of different product spaces. That's the path we're building down.
So how will you think about the outbound dialing piece that is still elusive, right? Because the LLMs are not where you need to be. So is that something you're gonna build right now, or are you gonna expand your outbounding, inbounding into other sales verticals, perhaps, or maybe recruiting, perhaps, or maybe something else that is more collections, perhaps? So right now you don't have an outbound SDR dialing people and talking to them.
Yeah, so we're building a dialer. That is part of this year's roadmap. That's still, we class that within outbound, so that's like a new product, but we're still doing it this year in the roadmap. We're doing that because you actually can't do net new cold outbound calling with AI. It's illegal. And also the voices aren't really good enough yet. Like you can tell when you're speaking to an AI.
Yeah.
And it messes up and it doesn't have enough context and it's just not there yet. So we're leaning into ironically, the human aspect of dialing and just making humans more productive at doing outbound cold calling and giving them a lot of context on the lead. So when the lead answers, they can see their recent LinkedIn post and they can personalize what they're saying, and taking care of all the actions that they would be doing outside of the call, like multi-threading, if it's an AE doing the dialing, or if it's an SDR setting up the meeting with the AE, and a bunch of other things.
So is that looking more like a power dialer along with AI SDR, or it's just a dialing tool?
Yeah, it's like a power dialer 2.0.
Wow. You just got to keep picking up fights, huh? You just got to keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah,
That's
yeah. I'm
awesome.
gonna fix
That's awesome.
dozens.
That's awesome. So your marketing is outstanding. I just you got so many people talking about you, and that's exactly where you want them. I still think that the whole distribution point that you made is something everybody should be taking away.
I would say, especially in this space, and in almost every similar vertical AI space, you can't build a differentiated product in 6 months. Like everyone has the same LLMs they're using. Everyone has Cursor. Everyone has good engineers and is based in SF. So you can't build a product edge quickly. So the only edge you can build fast is distribution. So we early on, before we had a good product, I'd say now we do have a good product, but before we had a good product, we lent heavily into distribution and into marketing and built a sense of brand leadership in the space that way. And then now we have an amazing team who are shipping product faster than anyone else in the space, and we're doing very well on that front. But we lent into distribution very early and have carried on down that path.
So do you believe that you can vibe code your way to be first and then eventually fix it?
You can vibe code and be first in distribution. But from a product perspective, you can't vibe code your way into having the best product. It's actually extremely, like, that's what we were doing, I'd say, for the first 6 months we were building the product. We now have a new CTO who's great, who was a deal before, he left before the whole drama. But we have a really, really strong engineering team of very, very senior engineers. And we couldn't do this just vibe coding our way along. Like it's an extremely complicated product, because an AI SDR is really 15 different outbound tools combined together into one platform that we have to build deeply in each individual product, and then orchestrating them all together and integrating the LLMs to take actions. So it's too complex to vibe code your way to success. But in the early days, you can vibe code your way to an okay MVP and distribute it well.
So will you say that you vibe coded your way to the first Artisan, and then you have to now fix it to make it scalable?
Yeah,
and
it
big
was
and
complete trash. Like, yeah, the very first release, I like, our UI was this like horrible purple mess. It looked like a children's game. It was like really bad. So that first release was, and it didn't really work that well either. And we were product led then. And I did this webinar where I led everyone through the onboarding process, and they signed up live. And the product broke like 4 times during the webinar. And then everyone was like in the chat support being like, I can't get past this stage. I can't get past this stage. And it was a complete shit show. So
oh my
yeah,
god,
we did do that.
there you go. So is there a hack that you can give this audience for vibe distribution?
Vibe distribution. That's a fun term. Most of our good marketing ideas come from just sitting down and brainstorming. And they typically go from like very, very extreme, and then we tone them down into the campaigns that we release. So we start by doing like coming up with ideas that we could never, ever, ever do publicly. And then we tone
Oh my
it
god!
down
So
to
what was it? What was the V0 of Don't Hire
I'm
Humans?
absolutely not going to say a single word. I don't want to get cancelled. But we start with like something very bad, and then we tone it down to a publicly acceptable version. I don't know if that's great advice though, because you probably can't do that with your team. So I don't know.
Well, the one thing that I heard is that you were one of the few in your YC batch that came in already with the round done. And then you had the gravitas, the leverage, you had the conviction and confidence to just go and raise 10 million coming out of YC, where everybody's raising peanuts and fucking pizza. And now you can go to town and just own the distribution, hire the team you want, and then there is some amount of scale to like coming lock and loaded like that.
I would say it was kind of luck that happened. Like I didn't plan that. That was really complete luck. Like it worked out in my favor, very well. But we just by chance managed to raise just before getting into YC. Yeah. So we Oliver, who led our seed round, was just a LinkedIn message, and like a week before we had our YC interview, and then he gave us like $2 million on that day. So then we got into YC and we had this $2 million. So when it came to fundraising, at the end of the batch, everyone was raising like under what we already had. And we were like, oh, we don't really need the money then. So we just went out and raised on an uncapped 20% discount safe. And we were like, this is fine. We can raise this. It doesn't matter if we only raise like $1 million, and if we raise more, it's fine because it's uncapped. So it's not that dilutive. And we just managed to get a lot on the note. So it was kind of luck. It was actually Parker Conrad as well. I should give him some credit because when he came in and gave a talk to our batch, he said about how Rippling after the batch rates on an uncapped 20% discount safe. And I didn't even know what that was. So after I was there, like asking ChatGPT, what's an uncapped safe? And then I was like, oh, I want to do that as well. So yeah, I guess I should credit him with the inspiration for the big round.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It feels like you have done all the things ahead of the game, and that has allowed you to stay ahead of the game. And
mostly by accident, but yeah, I guess.
Yeah, well, you make your own luck.
Yeah.
Luck favors the prepared, as usual.
Yeah.
Jaspar, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. We had a ton of fun. Can't wait to see you here in London. Good luck with the relaunch of Ava.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, man.